He found the bouquet before she did. 12 red roses with a card that said, "For the girl this house pretends not to see." Luca Moretti crushed the card in his fist, eyes burning. "Who sent you this?" he asked. She whispered, "I don't know." He did not believe it, and that was the moment jealousy lit the fuse. The morning began like every other at the Moretti estate, quiet, precise, on time. Emily Carter unlocked the kitchen storage, checked the inventory board, and signed for the first delivery. Bread, vegetables, coffee, cleaning supplies. At the bottom of the crate, a long white box tied with satin ribbon. She frowned. No vendor sticker, no invoice, just her name written by hand. For Emily. Nobody sent her anything. Emily was the kind of worker who made rooms look ready and then stepped out of the frame. She ran the dishwasher at dawn, pressed shirts so they hung without a wrinkle, and moved like a shadow through the halls. A year here had taught her the safest rule: be useful, be quiet, be gone before the boss enters. Still, her hands lifted the lid. Inside were 12 red roses, deep and perfect, dew beating on the petals. The scent reached her first, clean and sweet. A small white card lay between the stems. She picked it up and read the single line. "For the girl this house pretends not to see." Her fingers tightened around the card. The words landed too neatly, like someone had been standing in the kitchen with her all year, watching her disappear. Footsteps sounded in the hallway. She set the card down. "Who delivered that?" The voice was even, not loud, but it filled the space. Luca Moretti stood in the doorway. White shirt, sleeves rolled to the forearms, dark hair slicked back, tie loose in his hand. He didn't need to raise his voice to change the air in a room. He just arrived, and everything lined up. "It was in the delivery crate," Emily said. "I didn't order it." His eyes moved to the label, then to her face, then back to the flowers. "Show me the card." She handed it over. He read it once, jaw set, then again. A small crease appeared between his brows. He folded the card in half, then in half again. "This house has cameras on every approach," he said. "No one leaves a package without being seen." "I believe you. That's not the point." He lifted one rose, pressed the head between his fingers until petals loosened and fell on the marble. "Ryan." The head of security arrived almost before his name finished. Ryan Brooks wore a black shirt and the kind of calm that doesn't break under pressure. "Boss." "Pull footage from midnight to 6, Luca said. "All gates, all fences. I want whoever carried this." Ryan took the crumpled card in a gloved hand, glanced at the box, and nodded. "Copy." When the door closed behind him, silence held. Emily kept her gaze on the counter, the way staff was trained to do. But she felt Luca's attention, direct and close. "Does anyone outside this house know where you work?" he asked. "No. Family. My brother. He's in college. He doesn't share details." "Friends?" She hesitated. "I keep to myself." He accepted that with a short nod. "From now on, you stay inside the main house. No back gate, no side door. If a vendor speaks to you, call security first." "I didn't do anything wrong." "This isn't punishment," he said. "It's protection." He turned, stopped, and looked back once more. The look wasn't soft. It was assessment and promise in the same line. Then he left. Emily breathed out only when he was gone. She gathered the fallen petals and put them in the compost bin. She should have thrown the bouquet away. But the handwriting on the card kept tugging at something in her memory. An old office in Ohio. Notes that appeared on her desk with the same slanted letters. 2 weeks after the first note, her manager disappeared with client funds. Agents had asked questions. Rumors had teeth. She left the state and never looked back. She slid the roses into the bottom shelf of the walk-in fridge behind herb crates. Out of sight didn't mean out of mind, but it helped. By 10, Olivia Bennett walked in with a folder under her arm. Sharp suit, ponytail, clear eyes. The in-house attorney always noticed what others missed. "Morning. You look like you swallowed a secret." "There were flowers," Emily said. "For me." Olivia's brows rose. "And the boss saw?" He read the card. Emily paused. He wasn't happy. He never is when the unexpected touches the house. Olivia's tone softened. He'll call it security. It will feel like a leash. If you want me to argue for you, I can, but I'll lose. I don't want to fight, Emily said. I want quiet. You won't get it today, Olivia replied. Ryan is already walking the fence line. At lunch, a small device in a velvet pouch appeared near the spice rack. A sticky note in block letters. Keep this with you. Don't argue. No signature. None needed. Emily slipped it into her pocket and felt a small relief she didn't want to admit. By late afternoon, the house moved differently. Two unfamiliar men in estate shirts lingered near the service corridor. The grounds crew trimmed the hedges along the drive. A ladder went up near a gate camera. House weather had changed, and everyone could feel it. Just after 6, Ryan arrived with a tablet under his arm. Luca's office door closed. The sound of slow voices, the scrape of a chair, and then nothing. Emily poured coffee, set a tray with fruit, and waited for the call that usually came when meetings ran long. It didn't come. Instead, Luca appeared in the kitchen doorway again, tie on, expression cooler than before. You're moving to the East guest suite tonight, he said. Main floor, reinforced sliders, private alarm. It's too much, Emily said, then swallowed. I'm fine in my room. It's not a debate. He studied her face. The lock on that attic window is old. You noticed? I notice what breaks, he said, and what could be used. She followed Olivia down the long hall when the keycard arrived. The East suite was simple and quiet. Soft gray walls, clean lines, ocean light through a single window. On the nightstand sat a second velvet pouch with an identical device and a typed line. Double tap anywhere in the house. We will find you. He is thorough, Emily murmured. He is, Olivia said. He wasn't always this guarded. The job made it permanent. She offered a small smile. If you need anything, you call me before you call him. I translate. Thank you. Night set in. Emily showered, put on soft cotton, and sat on the bed with a book she couldn't follow. At 1:14 a.m., a door clicked somewhere. At 2:03, the ocean felt closer. At 3:00, she dozed for a handful of minutes and dreamed she was standing at a mailbox in Ohio again, waiting for a letter that never arrived. At 3:12 a.m., a man in a dark jacket moved along the hedge at the property line and set a white box where the camera could see it. The post light caught the ring on his hand. The stone flashed black and then swallowed the light. Emily didn't see it then. She slept through the minute that would define the day. Morning brought the house back to its routine. She dressed, pinned her hair, and returned to the kitchen by 7. Fresh coffee, stacked plates, the hum of the refrigeration. Luca arrived without a word, checked the window pin with his thumb, took a screwdriver from the drawer, and tightened a hinge that had been squeaking for a week. When it held, he nodded, returned the tool, and finally looked at her. The lock sticks if the pin turns, he said. Press down while you slide it. I will. Thank you. He watched her a beat longer. That handwriting on the card, did you recognize it? She considered lying and decided against it. It reminded me of notes I used to find at a job before I moved here. Same hand, same slant, same pressure on the downstrokes. Do you think the person followed you? I don't know, she said. I left and never gave a forwarding address. If your past is reaching for you in my house, he said, we cut its hand off. The line hit hard and simple. Not theater, a plan. She nodded. The intercom clicked. Ryan's voice came through. Boss, I have something you need to see. Bring it, Luca answered. Ryan arrived with the tablet and an anti-static bag holding a drive. He set the tablet on the island and tapped. Gate 3, North Post, 03:12 a.m. Infrared caught motion. The angle isn't perfect, but we've got jewelry. The frame opened. Grainy night vision, hedge, post light, a figure moving not center, but near the edge. The man stooped, set something down, white, box-shaped, and then lifted his left hand as he adjusted his sleeve. Freeze there, Luca said. Ryan tapped. The hand stopped mid-gesture. A ring caught the post light. Silver band, square bezel, black onyx stone cut high. A small notch marred the underside of the setting. Ryan zoomed until the pixels softened. The ring stayed clear. "I've seen that ring on one man," Ryan said. "So have I," Luca replied. His voice lost warmth and kept only iron. "Victor Kane." Emily didn't know the name beyond whispers in the staff corridor. Someone with money and reach who liked other people to take the fall. But she could read a room, and now the room went still. "Lock the estate," Luca said. "No one in or out without me. Rotate the gate team every 30 minutes. Move a car to the service road and park it cold. Olivia in my office in 10. I want a list of Kane's runners, his drivers, his favorite restaurants, where he buys suits, who polishes his shoes." "On it," Ryan said. Luca looked at Emily. "If he contacts you, you come to me. If he sends another package, you don't touch it. You hand it to Ryan. Keep the device with you." "Yes." "You won't be background today," he added. "Not for him, not for me." Her breath stalled. She had lived a year as a shadow because it kept the world off her skin. Being seen felt like heat and risk at the same time. She nodded. "Understood." "Good," he said. He left with Ryan. The kitchen felt smaller and brighter after they were gone, like the air shifted to make room for what was coming. Emily rinsed the coffee pot, though it was already clean. She polished the island, though it already shone. She needed motion. Olivia stepped in 5 minutes later, hair pinned tight, eyes focused. "We're dealing with Kane," she said without preface. "That explains the card." "You know him." "I know the file." Olivia lowered her voice. "He prefers moves that look like gifts. He wants reactions he can measure." "Then he got one," Emily said. "He did," Olivia agreed. "But we'll set the terms for the next one." She looked at Emily's pocket. "Keep that device on you. Double tap if anything feels off, even if you think you're overreacting. There's no penalty for caution." "Does he do this often?" Emily asked. "Send messages through other people?" Olivia's mouth tightened. "Yes. He likes to make the target feel watched. He thinks it makes them sloppy." Emily thought of the card's words again. "The girl this house pretends not to see." He hadn't guessed. He knew. He knew exactly how she moved through these rooms. The thought made her skin crawl. At 10, Ryan returned with a printout from the florist on Madison. "Cash purchase," he told Luca in the office. "Cardstock matches their inventory, but the message wasn't printed in store. Handwritten elsewhere. Street-facing camera glitched for 8 minutes during the sale." "Convenient," Luca said. "Or planned," Ryan answered. Emily brought a tray of water into the office and paused at the threshold. Luca's eyes lifted to her. The look was direct and full of pressure. "Eat something," he said. "I'm fine." "Eat," he repeated, a command without heat. She took a grape from the plate and a small piece of bread. It grounded her more than she wanted to admit. Ryan set the florist photo on the table. "Same trim on the stems. Whoever cut these knows what he's doing." "Catalog the bouquet," Luca said. "We'll need chain of custody if this goes where I think it's going." "Where's that?" Olivia asked. "To a finish," Luca said. He rose, and for a moment Emily thought he would leave it there. But he stopped beside her instead. "You didn't cause this," he said. "If you feel guilt trying to get inside your head, lock the door." Her throat tightened. "I'm not used to people saying that." "Get used to it here," he said. Then he turned to Ryan. "Move her to the east corridor in the evenings. Change her door code. Put the old attic room on camera until I replace the locks." "Yes, boss." By noon, the estate ran like a small command center. Housekeeping shifted to the main floor. The gate team swapped positions every half hour. A sedan sat idling on the service road with the lights off. Deliveries were diverted to a secondary entrance where Ryan could stage them. Through all of it, Emily worked. She swapped linens in 2 guest rooms, logged a pantry shipment, and kept the kitchen tables set with clean glasses and fresh napkins. She wasn't background anymore, but she wasn't a show either. She was a person moving through a plan. At 4, she stood at the bay window and watched a rideshare crawl past the front drive. It stopped, then continued. She felt the device in her pocket and pressed it once, just to feel the click. She didn't double tap. Not yet. Olivia joined her. You okay? I will be, Emily said. He said the word protection. He meant it. Yes, Olivia said. He does what he says. Emily looked down at her hands. He also said something else, that he doesn't like people watching what's his. Olivia's eyes flicked to her, then back to the drive. He speaks like that when lines are crossed. What lines did the Roses cross? The one between his house and someone else's claim, Olivia said. Kane used you to make a point. Luca will use the point to break him. Stay close. Night approached. The ocean wind turned cool. The staff lights warmed the halls. Emily checked the new door code twice before closing the east suite behind her. She slept without dreaming. At 7 the next morning, Ryan brought the tablet back to the kitchen. Luca stood beside him. Emily wiped her hands on a towel and stepped closer because they didn't ask her to leave. Ryan tapped play. The figure moved along the hedge. The box went down. The left hand lifted. The ring caught the light. All three of them watched it. Luca's voice was quiet and flat. Victor Kane. The name didn't echo, but it didn't need to. It settled like a weight. Lock it down, he said. We start now. Emily looked at the screen and then at Luca. She understood something clearly in that moment. The Roses weren't about romance. They were a lever. They were a way to force Luca to look at her, to use her, to test him. He had looked, but not in the way the sender planned. She nodded to no one and everyone. She would do exactly what Luca said. She would stay where he could find her. And if the past tried to climb through the windows of this house, it would learn what it meant to be seen by the wrong man. The clip on the tablet froze on the frame of the hand with the black stone. A small notch on the bezel caught the light like a scar. The day moved forward on that image. From the moment the footage froze on that ring, the Moretti estate stopped feeling like a home and turned into a system. Doors that once stayed open now clicked shut behind Emily. Gate codes changed. Windows locked at midnight. Even the air felt watched. Luca Moretti didn't make promises. He made orders, and his orders wrapped around her like an invisible cage. Ryan Brooks gave her a printed badge that morning. It had her name, photo, and a barcode that opened specific doors. You'll keep this on you, he said. Scanners are live now. I clean, not hack, Emily replied, trying for humor. He didn't smile. Rules are rules. When she looked up, she saw Luca at the far end of the hall talking to Olivia. His hand gestured once, precise, sharp. Everyone around him moved faster. He was already rebuilding the world to keep her inside it. That afternoon, Olivia escorted Emily to her new suite. The east corridor gleamed, fresh paint, subtle security cameras in the corners, new sensors along the windows. He takes threats personally, Olivia said as they walked. That means more comfort than you're used to and less freedom. Emily exhaled slowly. So, prison with better lighting? Olivia's lips twitched. Exactly. The suite had new linens, fresh flowers, and a small desk. On it sat a black velvet pouch identical to the one before. Inside, a compact phone with one contact labeled emergency channel. He wants you to keep that on you too, Olivia said. It routes straight to Ryan. Does he do this with all his staff? No. Just the ones who end up in someone else's crosshairs. When Olivia left, Emily stood in the center of the room, staring at the phone. Her reflection looked back at her from the dark glass, small, cautious, cornered. That evening, dinner was tense. Luca ate with his usual precision, silent between bites, eyes sometimes lifting toward her. She stood by the sideboard, waiting for signals, when to refill his glass, when to clear plates. Normally, she was invisible during meals. Now he noticed every movement. When she reached for the serving tray, his voice stopped her. Sit. She blinked. Sir? Sit. He gestured to the empty seat beside him. Her pulse stumbled. The other staff glanced away quickly, pretending not to see. Slowly, she obeyed, sitting at the edge of the chair. Luca poured her water himself. You've eaten today? Yes. You'll eat again. His tone made it sound like command, not care. The silence stretched between them. The smell of food, the low hum of distant waves, the sound of forks, all of it felt amplified. He finally spoke without looking up. "You think this is about flowers?" "I don't know what to think." "Then think this. Someone wants to remind me I can bleed." His gaze lifted, locking on hers. "They used you to send that message." Her stomach tightened. "Why me?" "Because you're quiet. Because you blend. Because you don't look like leverage until someone makes you important." Emily looked down at her plate. "Maybe I shouldn't be here." "You are here now," he said flatly. "And anyone who touches what's mine will regret it." The word mine made her breath catch again, same as before. She didn't belong to anyone. But the way he said it made her feel seen, for the first time, maybe ever. Later that night, the estate felt too still. She lay on the bed watching the shadows of the palm trees sway against the curtains. The new panic device rested on the nightstand beside her phone. At 11:43 p.m., a soft chime broke the quiet, a message alert. Her heart kicked hard. She picked up the phone on the desk, the one Ryan gave her, but the screen was dark. The sound had come from the housekeeping card outside her door. She opened it slowly. On the top shelf, under folded towels, was a small brown envelope. No address, no seal, just her name again, in the same slanted handwriting. Emily's blood went cold. She looked up and down the hall, empty. She closed the door, locked it, and ripped the envelope open. Inside, a cheap black burner phone. It lit up the moment it hit her palm. One message flashed across the screen. "Tell him what you took." She froze. Her knees almost gave out as memory slammed into her. The flash drive, the accounting firm, the files she'd hidden in a hollow book years ago. She had run from it, buried it, forgotten it. How could anyone here know? Another message buzzed. "He won't protect you if he knows the truth." Her hands shook. She set the phone down on the bed and backed away. Tell him what you took. She hadn't stolen anything. She'd been asked to keep a backup drive by her old boss before he vanished. She never looked inside, never even knew what it contained. The room felt smaller by the second. She reached for the emergency device, pressed it twice. Seconds later, heavy footsteps echoed in the hall. The door unlocked with a beep and Luca entered first, followed by Ryan. "What happened?" Luca asked immediately. Emily pointed to the phone. "It was left in the cart outside." Ryan picked it up, scanning the surface. "No fingerprints yet," he murmured. Luca took a step closer. "What did it say?" She hesitated. "It said, 'Tell him what you took.'" His eyes sharpened. "Took. I didn't take anything," she said quickly. "Years ago at my old job, someone gave me a drive to hold. Then he disappeared. I left town. I swear I never looked at it." Ryan's head lifted. "The Ohio firm?" She nodded. Luca's voice lowered. "You still have it?" I think so. It's hidden." "Where?" "In Queens," she said, barely above a whisper. "At the church where I volunteer. I put it in a box of old donations." Ryan glanced at Luca. "We can retrieve it tonight." Luca looked at Emily. "You're coming with us." "What? No. I'll tell you where it is. You don't need—" "I said you're coming." His tone left no room for argument. "If this is what Kane wants, we find out why together." They left just after midnight. The city lights blurred through tinted glass as the black SUV crossed the bridge. Emily sat in the back seat beside Luca, Ryan driving. Rain began to fall, streaking across the windows. She finally broke the silence. "You think this has to do with Kane?" "I don't think coincidences exist in my business," Luca said. "You walked into my life with something someone wants. That's not random. I didn't even know I had anything. Doesn't matter. You're part of it now." His tone wasn't cruel, just fact. She watched his reflection in the glass, steady, jaw tense, mind already 3 moves ahead. He looked more like a soldier than a boss. When they reached the church, rain fell harder. The parking lot was empty. Ryan kept the engine running while Luca walked with Emily up the steps. She led him around the side to a donation shed. Her hands shook as she opened the padlock. Inside, rows of boxes stacked high. She knelt near the back and pulled one marked books, Winter 2022. "Here," she whispered. She reached in, moving paperbacks until she found one that felt too heavy, a hollowed-out copy of Pride and Prejudice. She handed it to Luca. He opened it. Inside, a small black flash drive. "Unmarked," he said. "Perfect." He slipped it into his pocket. The wind outside shifted, slamming the side door. Emily flinched. Luca's hand went to his gun. "Stay down," he ordered. A second later, a sound sliced through the night. A crack like thunder, but sharper. A bullet hit the doorframe. Splinters flew. Luca grabbed her, pulling her to the floor, shielding her with his body. "Ryan!" he barked into his mic. "On it." Ryan's voice came through. "Two shooters, east side." Luca turned his head slightly, his voice low against her ear. "Don't move." Her heart pounded so hard it hurt. His arm was over her, solid, protective. The air smelled of rain, gunpowder, and his cologne. Clean, dark, impossible to forget. Another shot hit glass, then two more. Ryan fired back from the parking lot. Tires screeched. Silence. Seconds stretched. Then Ryan's voice again. Clear. Luca lifted his weight slowly. "You okay?" She nodded, though her body trembled. "They knew we'd come. They knew what they wanted," he said, helping her up. "And now I know what's worth killing for." They drove back in silence. The flash drive sat in Luca's hand the whole way, his thumb moving over it like it was a trigger. When they reached the estate, Olivia was waiting by the door in her robe, hair pulled back, eyes sharp. "What happened?" "Ambush," Luca said. "They knew the location." "Which means someone leaked it," Olivia replied. "Inside or outside?" "Doesn't matter yet." He looked at Emily. "Go upstairs. Shower. Don't leave your suite until I say." She hesitated. "What about the drive?" "I'll handle it," he said, and walked past her toward his office. Emily stood in the foyer, soaked, trembling, watching him disappear behind the glass door. Ryan gave her a small nod. "He's in control," he said. "Always." "I'm not sure anyone is anymore," she whispered. Hours later, Emily sat wrapped in a towel on her bed, staring at the panic device. The roses were long gone, but their echo remained, the beginning of everything that now spiraled around her. Somewhere in the house, behind locked doors, Luca plugged the flash drive into a secure laptop. Lines of encrypted data filled the screen, bank accounts, offshore transfers, payments to police officials. His jaw tightened. "So that's what you were hiding, Emily Carter," he murmured. "You just didn't know it." And for the first time in years, Luca Moretti smiled, a cold, quiet smile that never reached his eyes. The storm never really left. It just waited outside the Moretti estate, pressing against the windows like it wanted back in. Emily barely slept after the ambush. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the flash of muzzle fire, the way Luca had covered her body with his, the weight of him, protective, absolute. She told herself it was only adrenaline keeping her heart racing, but deep down she knew it wasn't that simple. By sunrise, the house was already awake. Guards rotated. Ryan's voice came through radios. Coffee brewed stronger than usual. And behind the closed door of the main office, Luca Moretti sat in front of a laptop, eyes locked on the flash drive she'd hidden for years. He hadn't spoken to her since they came back, not one word. That scared her more than the gunfire. When Olivia found her in the kitchen, Emily was wiping a counter that was already spotless. "He hasn't said a word?" Olivia asked. "Not since we got back." "He's reading whatever's on that drive," Olivia said. "And if he's quiet, it's bad news for whoever put your name on it." Emily looked down. "What if it's bad news for me?" Olivia's tone softened. "If he thought that, you wouldn't still be standing here." Emily wanted to believe that. Hours later, Luca's voice came over the intercom. "Emily, my office." It was the first time he'd ever called her by her first name. Her heart jumped. She wiped her hands on a towel and walked the long hall to his door. Ryan stood outside, gave a short nod, and opened it for her. The room smelled faintly of smoke and rain. The curtains were half drawn, the city a gray blur beyond the glass. Luca sat behind his desk, sleeves rolled, tie gone, eyes fixed on the monitor. The drive was plugged in. He didn't look up when she entered. Close the door. She did. He finally turned the screen so she could see. Lines of numbers, names, transfer codes, offshore banks. I've seen these before, he said quietly. Kane's shell companies. Money moved through debt accounts, all traced back to politicians who think they're untouchable. He paused. You've been sitting on the key to his empire. Emily swallowed. I didn't know. My boss gave it to me the day before he disappeared. He said it was a backup in case something went wrong. It went wrong, Luca said flatly. For him, for you, for everyone who touched this. She stepped closer. What happens now? Now, he said, leaning back. I decide how to use it, without getting you killed. The way he said you, quiet, possessive, certain, sent heat to her face. I can disappear, she offered. Leave the city. You don't have to. He stood suddenly. Don't say that again. His voice cut through the room. You're under my protection. You don't run. You stay where I can find you. Her breath caught. That sounds like a command. It is, he said, stepping closer. Because if Kane realizes I have this drive, you'll be his first target, and I don't lose what I protect. His words burned, not from threat, but from the way he meant them. Luca reached for a cigarette, then thought better of it and tossed the pack aside. Ryan's already setting up safe routes. You'll stay in the house. No errands, no outside calls. Olivia will work the legal end. What about my brother? She asked suddenly. Noah, he's in college. If Kane knows about me... He's already on his radar, Luca interrupted. Ryan sent men to the campus this morning. They're bringing him here. Emily's eyes widened. Here? Yes, he'll be safe. He paused, then softer. You'll feel safer with him close. She wanted to thank him, but the words stuck. Gratitude felt too small for what he was doing. That evening, rain started again. Ryan returned around 9 with a nervous, wide-eyed young man who looked exactly like Emily would have looked years ago, hopeful, unprepared for this world. Noah Carter, Ryan introduced. Emily ran to her brother, hugging him tightly. I'm so sorry you got dragged into this. He hugged back, whispering, I don't even know what this is. Luca watched from a few steps away, unreadable. You'll stay in the West Wing for now, he said. Ryan will brief you on security rules. Noah looked him up and down. You're the guy she works for? Luca's lips twitched in something almost like a smile. Among other things. Emily shot her brother a warning look. Don't start. I'm not starting, Noah said. Just, this place looks like something out of a movie. Don't touch anything, Luca replied dryly, then turned to Emily. I'll have food sent to your suite. You both need rest. As they walked away, Noah whispered, That guy's intense. Emily whispered back, He saved my life. The next morning, the storm broke for good. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows. The house looked almost normal again, but the new guards at every exit told a different story. Luca had barely slept. He'd spent the night studying the data, connecting accounts, making quiet calls. When Ryan entered with coffee, he said, It's bigger than we thought. How big? Luca asked. Half the city, Ryan said. Kane's paying off officials, buying votes, moving weapons through shell contracts. If this leaks, he's finished. Luca looked at the flash drive. If it leaks, he kills her first. Ryan nodded. So what's the play? We find leverage, Luca said. Something worse than the drive. Something that keeps him from touching her. Ryan raised an eyebrow. You're breaking your own rule. What rule? Never get personal. Luca didn't answer. The silence was answer enough. Downstairs, Emily tried to settle Noah in the library with breakfast, but her nerves wouldn't stop humming. She kept glancing at the hall, half expecting Luca to appear. When he finally did, he wasn't in his usual suit. Black jeans, dark sweater, sleeves pushed up. The kind of look that made him seem more dangerous, not less. We need to leave for a few hours, he told her. You'll come. Where? The church again. I want to make sure we didn't miss anything. Noah stood up. I'm coming too. Luca shook his head. You're staying here. I'm not a kid. You are until I say otherwise. Luca cut in, voice like steel. You move when Ryan moves. Understood? Noah stared back, then finally nodded. Understood. Luca turned to Emily. Let's go. The drive back to Queens was quiet. Traffic lights reflected on wet asphalt. The city still half asleep. Emily sat beside Luca in the SUV, trying not to stare but failing. His focus on the road, his hand steady on the wheel, it felt like safety and danger rolled into one. She finally broke the silence. You didn't have to bring me. Yes, I did, he said. If there's something else connected to you, I want you to see it before Kane does. When they reached the church, Ryan took position by the door. Inside, the donation shed was empty, crime scene tape fluttering in the wind. Luca walked through slowly, eyes scanning everything. What are you looking for? She asked. Patterns, anything left behind. He crouched near a crate, ran his finger along a streak of oil on the floor. Tire mark, not from a car, probably a generator. He stood thinking. They had surveillance running, portable cameras. You mean they filmed us? He met her eyes. They wanted proof I was there with you. It's not just about the drive, it's about leverage. Emily's voice trembled. They're going to use me. They already tried, he said, stepping closer. And they failed. She exhaled shakily. You sound so sure. I have to be sure, he said. If I start doubting, we both lose. His words lingered. He was so close she could smell the rain on his clothes. She looked up, trying to read him. For a moment something unguarded flashed in his eyes. Concern, maybe even affection. But then he looked away. Ryan's voice came through the earpiece. We're clear. Let's move. Luca nodded. Back to the car. By the time they returned to the estate, Olivia was waiting with files. The data matches the ledgers from last year's bust, she said. Kane's network runs deeper than we thought. He has city officials under his payroll. Luca glanced at Emily. You understand what that means? That I'm involved in something I never asked for. It means, he said quietly, that you're now the only person with evidence that could destroy him. And that makes you valuable. She met his eyes. To you too? He didn't look away. Especially to me. Her chest tightened. She wanted to step back but couldn't. The distance between them was already too small. Olivia cleared her throat. I'll, give you both a minute. She left the room, smirking slightly. Luca leaned against the table, crossing his arms. You said you were invisible. Maybe you were. Not anymore. That's not comforting. It's the truth, he said. And the sooner you accept it, the safer you'll be. She hesitated. And if I can't handle it? He stepped closer, voice dropping. Then I'll handle it for you. Their eyes met. The air charged again. She could feel it. The pull she didn't want. The warmth behind his control. She forced herself to look away. I don't know what this is, she said quietly. Whatever's happening between us, it's not supposed to. Nothing about this is supposed to, he said. But it's real. She didn't answer. She couldn't. That night she stood on the balcony outside her suite, the ocean wind tugging at her hair. The sky was clear for once. Below, guards walked the paths with slow precision. For the first time since all this began, she felt something like calm. Her phone buzzed. She picked it up, expecting Ryan. Unknown number. One message. You think he can save you? Emily's breath caught. Another message followed. He's the reason your boss died. Her fingers went cold. She read it again and again, unable to breathe. Then came a photo, her old office building, police tape, and in the corner a blurred figure that looked too much like Luca. Her knees almost gave out. She gripped the railing. A knock at the door made her jump. Emily? It was Luca's voice. She hid the phone behind her back. Yeah? Open up. She hesitated, then unlocked the door. He stood there, hair tousled from the wind, no jacket, sleeves rolled. I wanted to check on you, he said. You've been quiet. I'm fine. You're lying. She forced a smile. I'm tired, that's all. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Get some sleep. We have work to do in the morning. He turned to leave. She almost called out, almost told him about the messages, but stopped. If what the text said was true, could she trust him? When he left, Emily sat on the edge of the bed, the phone heavy in her hands. The photo still glowed on the screen. She zoomed in. The figure was distant, blurred, but familiar enough to make her heart twist. Please, she whispered, don't let it be you. Outside, thunder rolled again, faint but returning, and somewhere in the darkness, Victor Kane smiled at the success of his next move. The photo wouldn't leave her mind. Emily tried to sleep, but every time she closed her eyes, she saw the image again. The blurred man in the background, standing near the yellow police tape the day her old boss vanished. Same height. Same shoulders, same posture. It could have been anyone. But what if it wasn't? The next morning, she went through her routine on autopilot. Wash the cups, brew the coffee. Pretend her world wasn't collapsing in on itself. When Luca walked into the kitchen, she didn't look up. She felt him before she saw him, the weight of presence that filled every room he entered. Morning, he said. Her voice came out thin. Morning. He studied her for a second longer than usual, then poured himself coffee. You didn't sleep. I'm fine. Stop saying that, he said quietly. You're not. Her hand stilled on the countertop. She didn't answer. He moved closer, lowering his voice. If something's wrong, you tell me. She turned to face him. Would you tell me the truth if I asked you something? He froze for half a heartbeat. Depends on the question. Her throat tightened. Were you in Ohio, the day my boss disappeared? Silence, the kind that stretches and fills a room until it hurts to breathe. Luca's jaw shifted slightly. He set the coffee down. Why are you asking me that? Because I saw a photo, she said, forcing herself to hold his gaze. And because someone keeps sending me messages saying you had something to do with it. His expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. Pain, maybe anger, maybe both. Let me guess, he said evenly. Victor Kane. She hesitated. He didn't sign the message. Then you already know it's him, Luca said. That's how he works. He plants a seed and lets it grow. He wants you doubting me, because if you doubt me, I can't protect you. You didn't answer, she whispered. He exhaled, sharp and controlled. I was in Ohio, yes, but not for what you think. Her heart pounded. Then for what? He leaned closer, voice low and cold. Your boss stole millions from Kane's company. He ran. Kane hired me to track the money. When I found the man, he was already dead. I buried what was left and walked away. She stared at him. You buried him? He nodded once. There are lines even I don't cross. That day I crossed one. You want the truth? That's it. Emily's eyes burned. Why didn't you tell me? Because you would have run, he said softly. And I needed you to stay long enough for me to keep you alive. The room felt smaller. Her heart beat loud. You think you can decide that for me? I already did, he said. And you're still here. She left the kitchen before she said something she'd regret. Luca let her go. Watching her walk away felt like punishment. He'd spent a lifetime mastering control, his temper, his fear, his heart, and somehow she broke through all of it. Ryan entered a minute later. She knows. I figured, Luca said. Should I lock the phone lines? No, let her breathe. If I tighten the cage, she'll hate me faster. Ryan folded his arms. Kane's playing a long game. He's using emotion, not force. Luca nodded. Then we play back. By noon, the sky darkened again. The wind carried salt from the ocean. Emily sat in the east guest room, staring out at the waves, trying to untangle her thoughts. She didn't know whether to believe Luca's version or the one that haunted her. A knock came at the door. Olivia stepped in, holding a folder. He told you, didn't he? Emily looked up. Told me what? About Ohio? Emily nodded. Olivia sighed. For what it's worth, he wasn't lying. I saw the case file. Kane ordered the hit on your boss after he stole from him. Luca found the body before Kane's men did. He buried him to keep the man's family out of it. That's who he is. Someone who cleans up the mess? Someone who tries to stop the bleeding, Olivia said. Sometimes that's all you can do in this business. Emily didn't answer. She didn't know how. Olivia sat beside her. He's not a saint, Emily, but he's not your enemy. I just don't know who to trust anymore. Then trust what you feel, Olivia said. Your gut's usually right. That evening, dinner was quiet. Luca sat at the head of the table, Olivia and Ryan across from him, Emily further down. Noah had gone for a walk around the property with one of the guards. When the lights flickered, Ryan frowned. Power surge? Luca's eyes narrowed. Backup should have kicked in by now. The entire house went dark. Everyone stay here, Luca ordered. Footsteps echoed in the hall, faint at first, then louder. Ryan drew his weapon. Luca's hand went to his sidearm, too. A crash sounded from the kitchen. Luca moved first, flashlight in one hand, gun in the other. Ryan, lights. Working on it. Emily followed despite herself. The kitchen door stood open, curtains blowing from the wind. One of the back windows was shattered. Glass everywhere. Luca cursed under his breath. They were inside. Who? Emily whispered. Someone with access. He turned to her. Go to your room. Now. I'm not. Now, Emily. His voice cracked like thunder. She flinched, then ran. By the time Ryan restored partial power, 2 guards were missing. A storage door was ajar, and on the counter someone had left another rose, single, blood red, fresh. Luca picked it up, turned it in his hand. He's mocking me. Olivia frowned. How did they get past the gates? Luca looked at the petals, jaw tight. Someone opened them from inside. Emily sat on her bed, heart racing. The lights flickered again. She could hear shouting downstairs, footsteps in the hall. Then the door burst open. Not Kane's men, but Luca himself, gun drawn, eyes burning. Come on. What happened? She asked. Safe house. Now. He grabbed her wrist, pulling her into motion. They moved through the corridor, down the servants' stairs, through the underground passage that led beneath the property. She could barely keep up. When they reached a steel door, he punched in a code. The lock clicked, and he pushed her inside. The room was small, reinforced, stocked with food and supplies. He turned to her, chest rising fast. You stay here until I clear it. Luca. He cut her off. Someone in this house opened that window. I won't risk you being near them. You think it's one of your men? I think it doesn't matter what I think until I find out, he said. Don't open this door for anyone but me or Ryan. He started to turn away, but she caught his sleeve. Be careful. He looked down at her hand on his arm. Something raw flashed across his face. You worry about me now? I don't want anyone else dying because of me. Then stop blaming yourself, he said softly. You didn't ask for this. She nodded. He reached up, touched her cheek once, barely there, and then was gone. Minutes stretched into hours. Emily sat against the wall, listening to muffled sounds above, the low rumble of vehicles, voices, doors slamming. Finally, the lock beeped. She jumped to her feet. The door opened. Ryan stood there. It's clear. What happened? Inside job, he said grimly. The bakery contact. He sold information about the security routes. Bakery? She repeated. Old friend of the boss's father. Luca trusted him. Emily felt a chill. What did they want? Not the drive, Ryan said. You. She froze. Me? He nodded. They wanted to trade you for leverage. Kane's getting desperate. When Luca returned, his shirt was torn at the shoulder, a thin line of blood along his arm. He ignored it. You're hurt, Emily said, stepping forward. It's nothing. Let me see. I said it's nothing. Luca, she said, her voice firm for once. He stopped. Their eyes met. For a moment, all the noise in the world seemed to fade. He exhaled and sat on the couch. She knelt beside him, cleaned the cut with a damp cloth from the kit. He didn't flinch. He just watched her, silent, the air between them heavy. You shouldn't have to do this, he said quietly. You shouldn't have to keep saving me. Maybe I want to. Her hands trembled slightly. Why? He didn't answer right away. His gaze lowered to her lips, then back to her eyes. Because I stopped seeing you as part of the problem a long time ago. She froze. And what am I now? He smiled faintly. Sad, controlled. The only person who makes me forget what I am. For a moment, neither moved. The air thickened. His hand brushed hers, slow, deliberate. She felt it like an electric current. But then he stood, breaking the spell. Get some rest. We leave before dawn. Where? Somewhere safer, away from anyone who owes Kane favors. She nodded, though her heart ached with things she couldn't say. Hours later, before sunrise, they drove in silence. The roads were empty. Ryan followed behind in another car with Noah and Olivia. The safe house sat above an old bakery, quiet, closed for renovations. Inside, the place smelled faintly of bread and dust. Luca checked every door, every exit. Then he finally let himself breathe. Emily leaned against the counter, watching him. You always live like this? He glanced at her. Always ready to move? Yes. That sounds lonely. It is, he said simply. She hesitated. And you chose it? He met her gaze. It's easier to protect people when they don't get close. Her voice softened. Too late for that. He looked away, jaw tightening. Get some sleep. Luca. She started, but he'd already turned toward the window, watching the street. She went upstairs, heart pounding. She didn't know what was worse, trusting him or not trusting him. Below, Luca stayed by the window until dawn painted the streets gold. The first light hit his face, and he thought of her words. Too late for that. He knew she was right. The safe house above the old bakery had no clocks, yet every second felt loud. Emily sat at the window, watching the street below. People passed by, ordinary lives, unaware of the world she'd fallen into. She envied them. No guards, no lies. No man like Luca Moretti bleeding into every heartbeat. He hadn't spoken much since they arrived, always checking exits, scanning messages, talking quietly with Ryan. His focus had a purpose now, sharper than before, the calm before another storm. Noah, restless as always, paced the small kitchen. How long are we supposed to hide here? As long as it takes, Emily said softly. Yeah, because that's not terrifying. He ran a hand through his hair. We're sitting ducks, Em. Luca knows what he's doing. He snorted. You trust him that much? She looked out the window again. I'm still alive. That's enough for now. Downstairs, Luca and Ryan reviewed blueprints spread across a wooden table. Kane's moving shipments through Pier 9, Ryan said. He's expecting me to reach out for a deal. Luca's jaw set. Then we give him one. You're really doing this? Ryan asked. Trading yourself for the girl? It's not a trade, Luca said coldly. It's bait. Ryan leaned back. He won't show up himself. He'll send someone. I don't need him to show up. I need him to believe I'm desperate. Luca's voice lowered. He thinks I'd do anything for her. He's not entirely wrong. Ryan gave a knowing look, but didn't comment. What's the plan? Tomorrow night, Luca said. He'll think I'm offering the drive in exchange for her safety. While he reaches for it, we take everything. His courier, his data, his route. End this. Ryan nodded. And the girl? She stays here, Luca said. If she's smart. That afternoon, Emily found Luca at the window, arms folded, lost in thought. You're planning something, she said quietly. He didn't turn. Always. What is it this time? Something that keeps you alive. She walked closer. You're not telling me everything. Because you don't need to know everything, he said. I'm tired of being protected like I'm a problem to solve. You are a problem, he said, finally turning to face her. You're the one thing Kane can use against me. Her chest tightened. Why me? Because I made you visible. His voice softened. Because I looked too long. Silence filled the space between them. For a moment, neither moved. "You don't get to decide what I risk," she whispered. He stepped closer, eyes dark. "You think I'm doing this because I enjoy control? I'm doing this because I can't watch someone else die for my mistakes." "Maybe I'm not yours to save," she said. "You are now." The words hit like a storm. Before she could respond, Ryan's voice broke through the intercom. "Boss, we've got movement outside." Luca spun toward the monitor. A van had stopped across the street. 2 men stepped out, plain clothes, sunglasses, pretending to be repairmen. "Stay here," he ordered, grabbing his gun. "Luca." He cut her off. "Lock the door." He left before she could argue. Downstairs, Ryan was already at the window with binoculars. "They're not locals." "Pull the plates," Luca said. "Already did. Rented. No ID matches." Luca's eyes narrowed. "They're testing us, seeing who's inside." Ryan looked up. "What do you want to do?" Luca's voice was calm, deadly. "We show them who they're watching." He walked out the front door. The 2 men froze as he approached. Luca didn't need to shout. His silence was enough. "You're a long way from home," he said. "Who sent you?" One man smirked. "Just maintenance." Luca's gun pressed against the man's chest before the next breath. "Then fix this place faster." The second man's hand went for his jacket. Luca fired once low, a warning shot that cracked the pavement near his foot. "Try again." Ryan appeared behind them, weapon drawn. The fake workers raised their hands slowly. "Call Kane," Luca said to one of them. "Tell him the drive's ready. He'll get a meeting at Pier 9, midnight." The man hesitated. Luca's tone darkened. "Now." The call was made. The deal was set. When Luca came back upstairs, Emily was waiting at the top of the stairs, pale. "I heard the gun. They're gone," he said. "You're safe. You promised no more lies." He hesitated, then said, "Kane will meet me tomorrow night." Her stomach dropped. "You're going alone?" "Yes." "No." She stepped forward, angry now. "You can't. It's not a negotiation. I'm not letting you walk into a trap alone." His mouth curved in something between frustration and affection. "What are you going to do? Argue him to death?" She crossed her arms. "If that's what it takes." He stepped closer until she had to tilt her chin to meet his gaze. "You don't get it, do you? This ends with me or with him. There's no middle ground." "Then I'll find one," she said. He looked at her like she was both impossible and inevitable. "You drive me insane." "Good," she said. "Now we're even." He exhaled, trying not to smile. "You don't make this easy." "Neither do you." For a moment, the air between them softened. His hand lifted, brushed a strand of hair from her face. "If something happens to me—" "Don't," she said sharply. "Don't finish that sentence." He hesitated, then quietly, "Stay alive, Emily, no matter what." The next night, the dock smelled of salt, diesel, and betrayal. Rain fell in thin sheets. The black water rippled under the lights. Ryan waited with the backup team across the pier, ready to strike. Luca stood under the overhang, coat dripping, the flash drive in his pocket. Kane's men arrived right on time, 3 cars, engines low. The back door opened, and Victor Kane stepped out for the first time. Tall, silver hair, cold smile. "Well, well," Kane said, walking forward. "The famous Luca Moretti. I was starting to think you'd gone soft." Luca didn't move. "You wanted the drive. And you want the girl," Kane said. "We both get what we want." Luca's jaw tightened. "Where is she?" Kane smiled wider. "Safe. For now." Luca's voice dropped. "She wasn't part of this. She became part of it the moment you looked at her like she mattered." Kane's eyes glinted. "That's your weakness, Luca. You started caring." Luca pulled the flash drive from his pocket. "You get this when she's safe." Kane chuckled. "Oh, I think we'll do it my way." He snapped his fingers. A van door slid open. Emily's heart stopped. She wasn't there. Instead, Noah. Her brother. Bound and gagged. Luca's blood ran cold. You made a mistake. Kane tilted his head. I made a point. Luca took one slow step forward. Let him go. Bring me the drive first. Ryan's voice hissed in his earpiece. Boss, we can take them. Not yet, Luca murmured. He reached into his coat, tossed the flash drive halfway between them. Kane's man bent to pick it up. Luca fired. One clean shot to the man's leg. Chaos erupted. Ryan's team surged from the shadows. Bullets tore through the rain. Kane ducked behind the car. Luca sprinted toward the van, firing as he ran. He ripped the door open, cut Noah's restraints, shoved him down behind the tires. Stay down, he barked. Noah's eyes were wide. Emily? She's safe, Luca said, even though he wasn't sure. Kane's car screeched away from the pier. Ryan shouted something in his earpiece, but the signal cut out. When the gunfire stopped, the air smelled like metal and rain. Luca straightened, scanning for Kane. Gone. Ryan approached, soaked and breathing hard. He got away. Luca holstered his weapon. He won't get far. Ryan gestured toward Noah. He's shaking, not hurt. Get him back to the safe house, Luca said. Now. When Luca returned hours later, dawn was breaking. The sky pale blue over the city skyline. Emily stood on the balcony, wrapped in a blanket, waiting. The moment she saw him, she ran forward. Noah? He's fine, Luca said. He's asleep. Her eyes filled. You went after him. He nodded once. Kane took the wrong bait. And you took a bullet for it. He looked down at the graze on his shoulder, shrugged. He missed. She stared at him, tears mixing with rain. Why do you keep doing this? Why risk everything? He stepped closer, voice low. Because I'd rather bleed for you than bury you. Her breath caught. For a long moment, neither spoke. The city woke around them. Cars, sirens, distant waves. He reached up, brushed a drop from her cheek, and the world seemed to still. Luca, she whispered. He leaned in, close enough for her to feel his breath. I told you, he murmured. You're not invisible anymore. And then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was everything he'd tried to hold back. Anger, fear, desire, relief. Her hands gripped his shirt, pulling him closer. The storm finally broke inside both of them. When they parted, she whispered, What now? He looked at her, eyes softer than she'd ever seen. Now we finish this. The Moretti estate had never felt so silent. After the pier shootout, Luca moved everyone back to his main house, the place where it all started. It was supposed to be safe. Cameras upgraded, new guards, reinforced gates. But safety was an illusion, and everyone in that house knew it. Emily stood in the great room, staring at the reflection of herself in the tall glass windows. The ocean stretched beyond, calm for once, but her chest wasn't. Noah was asleep upstairs, sedated by exhaustion and fear. Ryan paced the hall, phone in hand, relaying orders. And Luca? Luca hadn't stopped moving for 20 hours. He spoke to his men, checked blueprints, rewired the security grid. Every move calculated, every breath controlled. But control only lasted so long. By noon, the team gathered around the table in the study. Ryan placed a printed map down. Kane's bleeding. He lost men, money, and face. But he's not done. Someone's feeding him information from inside. Olivia looked around. You're saying there's a mole? Ryan nodded. Someone close. They knew where the safe house was. They knew about the pier meet. Luca leaned forward. Who had access to both locations? Ryan hesitated. Half the inner circle. Half's too many, Luca said coldly. Cut it to 5. Find me proof. His voice was steady, but his eyes burned with something else. Fear for her. Emily felt it from across the room. When the meeting ended, she followed him out. You think someone in your own house betrayed you? He didn't look at her. I know it. Who? I'll find out before sunset. She touched his arm. You can't fight everything alone. He turned to her, gaze sharp. Watch me. That night the house lit up with motion sensors and quiet tension. Emily tried to read in her room, but every creak in the hallway made her heart jump. When she heard voices downstairs, low, urgent, she followed the sound. Luca and Olivia stood in the kitchen, the only light coming from the small lamp over the counter. She deserves to know, Olivia said. Not yet, Luca replied. You can't protect her forever. I'm not trying to protect her from Cain, he said quietly. I'm protecting her from me. Emily froze in the doorway. Olivia crossed her arms. You think keeping her in the dark makes you noble? You're making her a prisoner. She's safer if she hates me. She doesn't hate you, Luca, Olivia said. That's the problem. He didn't answer. His hands rested on the counter, shoulders tense. Then he said something that made Emily's breath stop. She doesn't know who killed her boss. Olivia's tone dropped. You told me it was Cain. It was his order, Luca said. But I pulled the trigger. The world tilted. Emily stepped back before she could stop herself, her heel hitting the floorboard. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Luca turned instantly. Emily! She ran. He caught up with her halfway up the stairs. Let me explain, he said, his voice rough. You lied, she shouted. You told me you found him dead. I did, he said, because he was dead to the world the second he stole from Cain. I was sent to make it clean. She shook her head, tears burning. You killed him. I ended something that was already over, he said, stepping closer. You don't understand what would have happened if I hadn't. You think that makes it better? Her voice cracked. He trusted me, and you. He grabbed her wrist gently, forcing her to meet his eyes. He used you, Emily. He left you with that drive because he knew Cain would come for it. You were bait long before I found you. Her breath caught. Then why didn't you tell me? Because you would have run, and I needed you alive long enough to forgive me. Tears spilled down her cheeks. You don't get to ask for that. He let her go, his voice barely a whisper. I know. She locked herself in her room, pressing her hands against her mouth to stop the sobs. Outside, the ocean roared like it understood. Hours passed. The anger dulled into confusion, the heartbreak into exhaustion. By the time someone knocked, she didn't know if she wanted to answer. Emily? Olivia's voice came softly. Please open the door. She hesitated, then turned the lock. Olivia stepped in, holding a small tablet. I need you to see this. What now? Emily asked, her voice hoarse. It's footage from the security feed last night, Olivia said, handing her the device. Luca told me to review everything from the pier. He didn't see this part. The video showed the van where Noah had been held. In the corner of the frame, a man slipping something into Luca's coat pocket during the chaos. A tracking chip. Someone marked him, Olivia said. That's how they found the estate tonight. Emily frowned. Tonight? Before Olivia could answer, the alarms blared. Lights flashed red across the corridors. Ryan's voice echoed over the comms. Multiple hostiles breaching from the west fence. Lock down now! Olivia grabbed Emily's arm. Come on! They ran through the hall as gunfire cracked outside. Glass shattered. Alarms screamed. Guards shouted orders. Luca's voice came over the intercom. Everyone to the safe room. Move! They turned a corner and froze. A figure stood at the end of the corridor, holding a gun. Don't, Olivia hissed, pulling Emily behind her. But the man didn't aim at them. He raised his free hand. It was one of Luca's men, Jason, part of the security team. Drop it, Olivia ordered. Jason's voice trembled. I didn't want this. Cain said he'd kill my sister. Before either woman could respond, a single shot rang out, clean and final. Jason dropped. Luca stood behind him, gun still smoking. Emily gasped. You didn't have to. Yes, I did, Luca said. He was buying Cain time. Time for what? To burn this place to the ground. They ran. Ryan met them in the hall, shouting over the noise. 2 trucks at the gate. We've got to move. Noah? Emily cried. Already downstairs, Ryan said. Go. They reached the basement safe room. Noah stood inside, pale and terrified. Luca slammed the steel door shut behind them. "Ventilation sealed," he said. "We can outlast them for an hour if we have to." "An hour?" Emily whispered. Ryan checked his tablet. "Backup's 5 minutes out." Luca looked at Emily. "Stay down." But she couldn't. "You're bleeding." He looked down, a cut across his side. "Just a scratch." She grabbed a towel from the shelf, pressed it against the wound. "You have to stop saying that." He gave a faint smile. "You have to stop worrying." Then softer. "You still hate me?" Her throat tightened. "I want to." "Then hate me later," he said. "Right now I need you alive." The sound of engines grew louder. Explosions shook the ground. Dust fell from the ceiling. Ryan shouted, "They're hitting the east wall." Luca grabbed his weapon, checked the magazine. "When they break through, we move." "Move where?" Olivia asked. He looked at Emily. "The tunnels." She blinked. "What tunnels?" "The ones under the cliffs. My father built them. Old smuggling routes. Kane doesn't know they exist." He turned to Ryan. "You cover the rear." Ryan nodded. "Got it." The door buckled once, twice. Then the lock gave. Smoke filled the room. Luca pulled Emily behind him, firing into the haze. 2 men dropped. Ryan and Olivia followed, covering the exit. They ran through the concrete tunnel, flashlights cutting through darkness. The air smelled of salt and dust. "How long does this go?" Emily shouted. "Half a mile," Luca answered. "Ends near the cliffs." The tunnel shook again. Another explosion. The ceiling cracked. Luca grabbed her hand. "Run!" They burst through the exit into cold night air. The sea crashed below, wind howling against the rocks. Behind them, the estate burned. Emily turned, horror washing over her. The mansion, his empire, was gone. Luca stood beside her, jaw tight, eyes on the flames. "My father built that house to look untouchable," he said quietly. "Now it's just glass and ashes." She looked at him, heart aching. "What now?" He turned to her, rain streaking his face. "Now we rebuild." "And Kane?" Luca's eyes went dark. "We finish it." Later, in the small cabin where Ryan led them, Emily wrapped her hands around a cup of coffee, still trembling. Luca sat across from her, silent. The firelight flickered between them. Finally, she spoke. "You lost everything." He met her gaze. "Not everything." Her voice was soft. "You think you can forgive yourself?" "Maybe not," he said. "But I'll make sure you never have to forgive me again." Silence stretched, heavy but different this time. Not anger, but something raw. He reached across the table, fingers brushing hers. For once, she didn't pull away. The cabin on the cliff smelled like smoke and sea salt. For the first time in days, there was quiet. The kind that came only after chaos. But peace was a lie. Peace never lasted long in Luca Moretti's world. Emily sat by the small window, watching the sunrise. The horizon bled into gold, and for a second, it almost looked like freedom. Almost. Noah slept on the couch, curled under a blanket. Ryan dozed near the door, weapon on his lap. And Luca hadn't slept at all. He stood near the fire, shirt half unbuttoned, blood still dried along his arm from the night before. His phone glowed in his hand. Messages, coordinates. Plans, always plans. When Emily finally spoke, her voice was soft. "You're going after him, aren't you?" Luca didn't turn. "There's no after without this." "You mean Kane?" "I mean the end," he said. "One of us doesn't walk away this time." She rose from the chair, walking closer. "You could disappear, leave the country. No one would blame you." He looked at her then, tired eyes but still sharp. "That's not who I am." "You don't have to keep being who you were," she said. He almost smiled. "You keep saying that like I have a choice." By noon, Ryan had gathered what remained of their team. "Kane's holed up at the Whitby docks," he said, pointing at the map spread across the table. "Private hangar, 3 guards, maybe more inside. He's getting ready to vanish." "Not without a goodbye," Luca said. Ryan frowned. We're walking into another trap. Probably, Luca replied. That's what makes it fair. Emily stepped forward. Then I'm coming. Luca's jaw tightened. No. I'm not asking permission, she said. He started this because of me. I'm ending it too. Ryan glanced between them but wisely stayed silent. Luca stared at her for a long time, the air between them thick with things unspoken. Finally he said, You stay behind me. You do what I say. Deal, she said. He shook his head slightly, muttering, You'll be the death of me. Or the reason you survive, she said quietly. The docks at night were all steel and shadow. The wind off the water carried the smell of oil and rust. Rain began again, light at first, then heavier, drumming on the corrugated metal roofs. Ryan and two men circled wide. Luca and Emily approached the hangar through the back. Every step echoed like it might be their last. Inside, a faint hum of generators, a single light above the office. Kane was there. He wanted them to find him. Luca raised a hand. Emily froze behind him. Then, a voice from the shadows. I was wondering when you'd crawl out of your hole. Kane stepped into the light. Same silver hair, same cold grin. His suit was immaculate, as if the world hadn't tried to kill him the night before. Bring her closer, Kane said, eyes on Emily. I want her to hear this. Luca's gun didn't waver. You got 5 seconds to explain why I shouldn't end this now. Kane chuckled. Because you don't even know what you've been protecting. Luca's jaw flexed. Try me. Kane reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. He tossed it toward them. It slid across the wet floor to Emily's feet. Go ahead, he said. Tell him who you really are. She hesitated, bent down, and picked it up. The paper was old, official, faded, stamped with a seal, her own birth certificate. But the name beside father wasn't what she expected. Victor Kane. Her breath left her body. Luca's voice was quiet, lethal. What is this? Kane's smile widened. She's mine, Moretti. The daughter of the man you swore to destroy. I kept her hidden, placed her under another name when she was a child. Her mother ran, thought she could start over, until your old friend in Ohio found her and tried to sell me the location. That's why he died. Emily's vision blurred. You're lying. Am I? Kane said. Ask him. He's the one who pulled the trigger. Luca didn't deny it. His silence was answer enough. Emily's heart broke twice, once for the man she'd trusted, and again for the blood that tied her to her worst nightmare. No, she whispered. No, that can't. Kane stepped closer. You've been protecting my legacy, Moretti. My blood. That's why I let her live. She's leverage and lineage all in one. Luca's gun rose again. Not anymore. Kane's tone sharpened. You shoot me, and she never learns the truth. I've heard enough, Luca said. He fired. The bullet hit Kane in the shoulder, spinning him back into the wall. The guards moved instantly, but Ryan's team fired from the rafters, dropping them one by one. Gunfire echoed through the hangar, metal and thunder colliding. Emily ducked behind a crate, trembling. She could hear Luca shouting orders, Ryan moving, men falling. Then silence. Kane lay bleeding, smirking through the pain. You'll never stop it. The files, the money, the men, they all follow her name now. Luca crouched beside him. Then I'll make sure she's the only one left. He pulled the trigger once more. Kane's body went still. Outside, rain poured harder, washing away the blood. Emily stood in the open air, shaking. Luca walked toward her slowly, the gun heavy in his hand. She looked up at him, eyes full of hurt. You knew. He stopped. I suspected. And you didn't tell me? I couldn't, he said. If you knew, he'd use that fear against you. Her voice broke. I don't even know who I am anymore. He stepped closer. You're not him. You're nothing like him. She shook her head. I have his name, his blood. You have my protection, he said firmly. That's all that matters now. She looked at him for a long moment, then whispered, You killed my father. He nodded once. And I'd do it again if it meant saving you. Tears spilled over. How can I love someone who destroyed everything I came from? Because everything you came from was built on lies, he said quietly. You're free now. You just don't know it yet. Her breath hitched. Free? He reached out, cupping her face, rain dripping from his fingers. Free to choose who you are and who you want. She looked up at him, eyes searching his. And who are you, Luca Moretti? He smiled faintly. Not the cold, practiced smirk she'd seen before, but something real. A man who finally knows what he'd die for. And then he kissed her again, not like the first time, desperate and hungry, but slow, certain, grounding. The world around them blurred into rain and silence. When they broke apart, she whispered, "What happens now?" He looked out at the storm. Now we start over. Days later, headlines filled the news. Mafia empire collapses after anonymous leak. Corruption scandal tied to business mogul Victor Kane. Sources say inside evidence came from former employee Emily Carter. She watched it from the small cabin, wrapped in Luca's jacket. Ryan had burned the last of Kane's files. Olivia was setting up new IDs. The Moretti network was gone, dismantled piece by piece, by choice. Luca stepped beside her, placing a coffee cup in her hand. The world thinks you exposed him. Maybe I did, she said. He smiled slightly. You realize what that makes you? She looked at him. Free. He nodded. And me? She grinned faintly. Unemployed. He chuckled. The sound rare, but real. Good. I could use a break. They stood together, the morning light pouring in, the weight of everything they'd lost balanced by what they'd found. That night, as the sun fell and the sea turned silver, Emily stood on the deck outside. The wind tangled her hair. She felt him step behind her before he spoke. You ever think about what happens next? He asked. All the time, she said. And I still don't know. He slipped his arm around her waist. Then we find out together. She leaned back against him, eyes closing, finally allowing herself to breathe. Do you ever regret it? She asked. The life you had before? He was quiet for a moment. Every day. But then I met you. And for the first time, regret doesn't win. She turned, meeting his eyes. So this is it? The end of the story? Luca smiled. No, cara mia. This is just the beginning. The waves crashed below, steady and endless. Above them, the stars cut through the darkness like hope that refused to die. And for the first time in a long, dangerous life, Luca Moretti let himself believe in something he never thought possible. Peace. 1 year later, a small cafe in Santa Monica, 2 cups of coffee, laughter, a quiet morning breeze. Emily wiped flour off her hands, smiling as a customer thanked her. Behind the counter, Luca leaned against the espresso machine, sleeves rolled, pretending not to watch her, failing miserably. Don't look at me like that, she teased. Like what? Like you're still waiting for the world to end. He grinned. Old habits. She walked over, sliding her hand into his. New life. He squeezed back. Better one. The bell above the door chimed. Outside, the ocean shimmered. The city hummed with normal life. For everyone else, it was just another day. For them, it was everything they never thought they'd live to see. If you enjoy stories like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. That's how I'll know you truly liked it. Even if you're watching on your TV, grab a second to join this family of fans who love emotional and heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you even more tales like this one.